Brooks, you know, if we had what I'm suggesting, the CIP department, we wouldn't have had to get to that level where we were having these battles and, you know, thinking about or contemplating the tens of millions of dollars that we may have spent inappropriately, and we wouldn't have had to fight that fight. Likewise, in the building department, although for so many years you tried to straighten out that department, it wasn't until the indictments in that department that we decided to go get an independent auditor. So what I'm suggesting is I think it's a good idea for businesses to do performance audits. I think that Kathy Brooks, who is a great employee, who I think is fantastic, in her function did not audit the building department. And she does not have the technical expertise to independently audit the capital improvement CIP department. So to say that we'll wait until we smell out a problem to have a performance audit as opposed to having a rotating system that every X amount of time, a different department at random, and not a person like Kathy Brooks who reports directly to the city manager, I would rather have someone who reports to the city commission. And
well, I think, Ed, what the manager just said,
like in our charter,
refreshing my recollection, we do have rotating audits.
They're not performance audits.
Say it again, George.
They're not performance audits. They're accounting audits. That's right. We're talking about...
They are not performance audits. They are accounting audits. As part of an accounting office...
They have findings. If they have findings,
If you have a finding, but you're not reviewing the efficiency, the procedures, and the controls per se, that's not included in the scope of an audit.
Not in the audit.
If you notice something that you find deficient, then you do put it as a finding.
Okay. So now that you know that we don't audit for performance, would you, Commissioner, would you think that that would be a good idea?
Personally, I would do performance reviews in the departments that I felt had problems. The ones that I hear complaints about are code and, frankly, licensing. You know, if I were focusing on the performance of the city departments and how they relate to our residents and businesses and, you know, where I hear the most complaints from. But as I said, if you hear about if you're saying that you want to do regular intervals of rotating performance reviews, you know, I would consider it depending on the cost and, you know, how beneficial the result is apt to be. You know, to just audit, to do performance reviews of departments that we're not having problems in.
Well, how do you know you're not having problems until you do an audit?
But again, a performance review...
You know, Commissioner Gross, if I can, I have to tell you it's very dangerous to only do problem-driven audits because the whole purpose of internal audit is to check for compliance. Well, internal audit and performance reviews is you want to make sure that the procedures that you've enacted are in fact happening. And you can have a department where you don't have complaints, everything appears correct. It's how I earn a living, guys. You go in and all of a sudden somebody notices something by accident and you notice that all of a sudden there's $300,000 missing. I mean, I do this for a living. So the internal audit function or the review has to be a combination of where you have complaints, but it's really about what's called a risk assessment. There are certain areas that are high risk by their nature. Procurement happens to be one of them, all right? And some that are high risk because their complaints are what people are purported to be irregularities. I love the idea of having someone report to the commission because I sit on it. But when the day comes that I don't sit on it and someone doesn't understand this, who's going to do this? I have a question. Maybe this can do it. Can the commission control the internal audit, what it is auditing each year by designating its priorities? And if so, do we need to bring this to the voters? Because I know that I personally asked in finance, and we did it, that the reports come to finance, that they be part of the record, and that we get to see every single finding, which happens in internal audit. If we have this ability to do it, let's do it, but let's not put it into the city. You know, let's not take it to the voters by referendum in case the day comes when you have a commission who doesn't know what they're doing.
I'm not suggesting. I'm sorry. Yeah, please.
Well, Jerry.
Only in light of the fact that it's a quarter to midnight. But let me ask a question. This is a very useful discussion. But can we, if you I'm hearing that you withdrew the referendum item, which is the only one that has to be acted on today in order to get on the ballot. Can we continue the balance of this discussion to the September meeting, so that these ideas of internal auditors or performance reviews can be elaborated only out of courtesy to all the other time-sensitive items on this agenda? If you're withdrawing the idea of the referendum, if you want an up or down vote on your referendum idea, because I heard you saying to Commissioner Gross that you're withdrawing that.
I would if we could. I'm interested in accountability.
We all are.
I'm interested. We all are interested in accountability, and we all are interested in transparency. So, if at the highest levels the reviews and the raises are getting done in private and they're not in writing and they're orally, and I have problems with some of the departments and their performance, I either want to control the hiring and firing, or I will concede that I don't have support for it, because I know it would be a big blow to the city manager's powers and perhaps disrupt things. I want a system of an objective evaluation performance criteria in place, some kind of audit, and I don't think that...
You want performance evaluation
audit
in connection with job performance.
For
department or for certain highly compensated.
Well, they're in. I would be happy with the departments. Listen, this is not a new idea. It happens in a lot of places.
Mr. Attorney, I know that time is late, but does this require a referendum? If we change that the internal auditor can report directly to the commission on items that we so fit, do we have to do that, or can we defer?
No.
I mean, whether we do it through
I
finance.
thought you were going to a place that we could all live with, but you might be going in a different direction again.
I don't know. I'm trying to find out if we can defer this. I would be happy to defer this, but what I hear, Commissioner Tobin saying is that he wants internal audit to report directly to the commission, not going through anyone else. My question is if we do that, does it have to go to referendum?
They can report to both, but what I object to is if the city manager interviews this auditor, and he gives them the scope of their responsibility, and he gets the rough draft of the final document, and then after the rough draft of the document, then we get the final draft. I want someone who's accountable to us. I'm not saying that this particular manager needs this kind of oversight, but who knows, like you always say, everyone says, who's going to be in that chair, blah, blah, blah. Performance audits are standard business practices, and we need them.
Let's do it. Let's vote on this. If he doesn't want to...
Do we need a vote? Does it need to be...
Do you want to remove it and we continue this discussion?
No, if it has to go, if the attorney says it has to go to a vote, then I got to do it tonight. And I would change
Under Section 2.03 of the Charter, the City Commission only has the authority to appoint the independent city auditor, whatever that means.
That's your external auditor.
If you're going to go beyond those duties and functions, then you would have to change the charter.
What are his duties and functions here?
I think this is a charter amendment.
Well, wait, what is it?
Wait, you're going to have to slow down because I don't know which one you're talking about now.
What is his-
I mean, are you
Your
talking?
your charter calls for you to appoint two people, a city attorney and a city manager. You then hire an external city auditor, which is, I don't know who it is, McGladdery and Pullen or whoever it is today.
We're talking about something
The
else.
internal auditor is a...
Or whatever.
Let me,
Kathy Brooks.
I think I can clarify.
No, absolutely not.
I think I can clarify. I think that the ordinance as presently written, the charter as presently written, says the independent city auditor shall be appointed by the city commission. Both appointment and removal of the independent city auditor shall be made by the city commission. Duties, methods of selection, and method of compensation of the independent city auditor shall be established by ordinance. So the city auditor, the independent city auditor's duties can be established by ordinance.
So we can do it by ordinance.
The independent city auditor is not the person who does the compliance work.
Correct.
Compliance work is done by a department of the city, which is part of Kathy Brooks's Office of Budget and Performance.
I'm not asking how it's done. I'm simply talking about the authority in the charter to expand the duties of the independent city. I know how it's done, and I'm not happy with how it's done.
want-
But I
fruit
thought
salad.
you wanted something like it was done for, like it's going to be done for the CIP. That's not an audit. I thought we were talking already
It
about
is-
something else.
No, that's an audit.
The performance.
That's
No,
an
but
audit.
the first,
The performance is what,
is the charter amendment, have you pulled the charter amendment, so I know where we are?
Well, where we are is, if the charter, and my reading of the plain language of the charter, allows us to set the duties of the independent city auditor, and I want one of the duties of the independent city auditor to be performance, and that is something we can do by ordinance, then I'm fine with pulling my suggestion. I don't think anybody here is
okay,
going to want to.
let's do this. Let's vote on his thing. And
The
then-
charter amendment?
Yes, because,
Which
you know,
charter amendment?
the one that he doesn't want to remove. He's making a deal here.
Right.
I mean, this is what I hear. I mean,
course.
I might be wrong.
Let's just
course.
vote the.
He's making a
right.
deal. Either you vote for mine or we do it this way. And we're not going to get, I don't even understand anymore what we're talking about here.
Can I-
So
can I
I'd rather
explain?
vote on his thing.
No, 'cause I
but
don't
it-
either.
I know
Can I
how
explain
I'm
it so that
voting.
at least the voters understand it? What
I
I would
don't
like
know
to
if
do
the
is,
voters understand it.
okay, well, they certainly won't understand it if you don't let me explain it.
Well, we've been explaining it.
Okay.
Ed, that's it. I mean, we can discuss this issue afterwards. I'm not opposed to continue to discuss this.
But
I'm not opposed to
I
that.
just want to know if it's something that is within the scope of our powers.
Well, it says there, you
I
just
think
read
it is. Can I get
Okay,
a-
so
can I get a-
let's vote.
You know what,
There is.
in all fairness, Mayor, we are not going to give our independent auditor this because it would cost the city be somewhere around $250,000
Be like
a
creating
year.
a czar
Well, that's-
in federal
well,
government.
That's
I
not, where did you make up that figure? If this Watson and Rice study cost us 160, why couldn't once a year we
Because
audit
it's
another
not-
department?
Because you can't do it like that.
Why not?
You have to, because you need to look at procurement from time to time.
Right.
The
Right.
parking department, which
Right.
involves cash, needs to be
Right.
looked at on a recurring basis.
Great.
There are a host,
And even
as
more
I said,
now.
a risk-based assessment. Parks and Recreation cash procedures have to be looked at.
I'm shocked
There
that
are-
nobody wants a performance audit.
No, we all
That's
want
shocking.
them.
That's
We
not a
want them, but
performance,
what
you
I'm
asked.
saying is, you have fruit salad. You've asked the independent auditors that we pay, I don't know how much,
I couldn't tell you off the top of my
I
head.
don't remember anymore. I used to know.
Okay, well,
We
let me,
paid them
let me offer my charter amendment, let nobody
Right.
second it.
Right.
And then you guys can
No, but
answer
I
your
think,
constituents
but no,
about
but
not
Commissioner
wanting to
Tobin,
follow.
Oh, it's okay.
Okay,
I'm
so
not going to be
I'm proposing
intimidated
my
at
charter
12
amendment.
o'clock, and I'm not going to be intimidated at 12 o'clock in the
Neither am I.
afternoon.
Neither
Let's
am I.
go.
this is a
So
good
what, did you
discussion, but
offer
not
it?
to be
Yeah,
done
I'm
like
offering the
this.
charter amendment.
Okay, is there a second?
No.
Okay, let's move on. Let's defer.
Can we
this-
refer it to a committee to discuss the
Exactly.
performance
Well, it would go to
audit?
finance.
I think it's a good subject to discuss. It's just not at 10 to 12.
Exactly.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, we've been
What
discussing,
committee?
it's been discussed for years.
I don't-
Cy
let me-
Gelber, when I spoke to Cy
Okay.
Gelber about it,
I am
him as a mayor,
finishing
they
this-
discussed this.
Let me,
Nobody wants it.
Mayor,